Hey, Sebastian, thanks so much for joining us in the car ride. You've already been in the car a bit yourself, but
exactly.
but we'll do our little tour, and it'll be fun. You can do the ride along. But do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, sure. I'm Sebastian. I lead the Kubernetes Competence Center. We renamed it actually to Container Competence Center and Platforms.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also today in the CTO Summit with the other end user enterprises, and I do transformation evangelism, you could say. So I have many ideas and publications, and I do like 20 to 25 keynotes a year about enterprise transformation and basically on people first processes, and on how to create a lasting transformational force rather than doing some adjustments in your mailbox signs. As enterprises
rather than just do, right? Here's the note that tells you how you need to change your life. You haven't found that to be effective? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we've been pretty effective actually. We've created the Competence Center 4 years ago. We started out just 3 of us, 2 engineers and me.
Mm-hmm.
They already built a proprietary Kubernetes control plane for 2 years at Audi. And you remember the 2019 market, it was like a super control plane heavy, 20 startups doing their own control planes, managing Kubernetes itself. So, or doing an abstraction layer above cloud provider Kubernetes and stuff. Anyway, this you've seen it back then. The focus is completely different now. Control planes are commodity. Allocating compute is commodity. It's not a business case anymore. It's a value add.
Right. It's just a feature.
Like it was 2019 or before. And we started out like this, creating our own platform and enabling project teams to securely deploy their workloads to and run them on a Kubernetes.
Let me ask you a background question though. Why? What was the driver to create this team in the first place? What was the goal? Did somebody just wake up one day and be like, we need to modernize somehow, or was there some business goal, or what was the driver that started that transformational event?
The transformation definitely is a completely different thing, decoupled from the team itself and its technical capabilities that we created there. It's I have a 10-year background in startups, being in startups in the Munich area for 10 years, and for example, before Audi, we created an IPTV solution that is market leader now, and I was responsible for the apps from the first customer to 1.25 million customers.
That's a few.
And then when going to Audi, we wanted to bring some startup culture into the enterprise. And obviously we had to wait until we were able to deliver and prove that our methodologies, that our ways of working, that our culture is paying off, and that it can survive in an enterprise surrounding, in an enterprise environment.
Right.
And like I said, it's decoupled from the technical capabilities and what we're focusing on, because the team was focusing on the Kubernetes control plane to assist one project team.
Yeah.
That's basically how it started. And taking it from one project team to many project teams with an inner source way of handling the things, that paid off, and we're 14 people now. And we're a competence center. We are consulting other platforms in their how they want to build things, how they want to create things, what focus they're on, if they're an infrastructure platform or rather abstraction layer above it, a business integration layer with serving a couple of managed services to a homogeneous group of workloads, for example.
Okay. And does your team provide software, or does it provide more like guidance and architecture and design, all of those things? How do you, kind of, what is the Competency Center kind of, what does it give to your customers in a sense?
Yeah, the first and foremost thing of them all is a platform to deploy workloads to. So there's a focus on two things. It's secure runtime. That sums it up perfectly. It's just security and runtime we focus on, and you have these, let's say, normal workloads that don't have too many special requests, and they can all deploy very easily to that platform and run their workloads to CI/CD there, and it just makes sense for the biggest amount of applications in the organization. And then you have some applications, obviously, that have a very special use case, like a machine learning AI use case of a tremendous amount of workload peaks, and you want a different consumption model in scalability, obviously, and maybe they need a couple of managed services, and then we create something like a business integration layer, business domain services, and we consult these people that want to own the business integration layer on how to do that and how to consume the infrastructure layer.
I gotcha. Okay. So let me, and I'm not sure if you can entirely get into this, but so when you are talking about these, kind of software teams and development teams, are they mostly like the stuff that kind of runs Audi, or is it the stuff that actually like runs in the cars, or both, or or is there, how's that division done? Is it different kinds of engineering?
Yeah, it's completely different from each other. So we don't run things in the car. That would be completely differently regulated as well, because it's regulated like bringing hardware to the streets.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So IoT or any steering software is basically, from a legal point of view, if you do a software update on a IoT device in your car, it needs to run through the same processes as if you've built the entire piece from scratch. Right.
Yeah. I'm not unhappy about that, to be honest. as a driver of a car,
it makes sense, doesn't it? So they can't patch your car dangerously.
Right.
So.
I've seen a lot of software people have written
safety processes in this case. It just makes sense. You don't want this in transportation, in car, trains, airplanes. It really makes sense. Right.
So mostly what you're working with is the kind of all the software that runs Audi itself, right?
Yeah. We have Audi IT has 6,600 applications. It's quite a number.
Yeah, it is.
And obviously there is on-prem, there is public cloud, there is all the flavors that you can think of, and all the needs, all the requirements that you can think of in any organization. We have them, we find them. Yeah. Which doesn't make our job easier, to be honest.
Right. It's weird. You were saying kind of the beginning about transformation. It is nice in theory to be able to send out that email that says you will all be on Kubernetes on AWS, and it just never works.
Enablement is everything.
Right.
You need to be sexy enough that the people want to work with you. And are never forced to work with you. Right. So if you have a attractional force that really attracts the people to work with you, because they know if you work with these guys, with Sebastian and the team, and they force you kind of to have success. Right. We don't let loose of the hand of our project teams until they have success, until they're running productively in the cluster. Or we consult them very, very early on where to go elsewhere.
Or where they can get the help to be successful.
Exactly. Because we know all the platforms in the VW group, and sometimes we just say, well, this is a classic on-prem case. Maybe you just move on to our colleague over there. His name is this and that. Or RVS, for example, mainframe stuff. Oh, yeah. So we're not super keen on lifting and shifting monoliths, and Kubernetes is not always the answer, nor is public cloud always the right answer. So we are very, very early in the consulting process for a project, and then we can advise them on pursuing the right path, on being successful in the value add they want to create, because the compute for them usually is like they're not very motivated in this topic because it's just annoying for them. They want to create business value in their application, but not really bother about the infrastructure. You know? Right. Often it happens that they create something, and they're like super proud of it, and then they're like, okay, where to run it?
Right. Yeah, no, I totally understand. So you know, you said there's 6,000 something plus projects, right?
Yeah.
So how do you do that transformation? Like, how do you scale your team of, what'd you say, less than 15, something like that? Like, to get to support that many different teams?
Yeah, actually, with me it's 15.
Okay. Yeah.
So the way to do it is like not investing too much energy in fighting the silo, as they put it. It's a mind-boggling and useless fight. You can invest 80% of your energy, your political energy, but also your entire day of work into talking to people and fighting the silo, so to say. It makes more sense to respect the silo because it's the way to organize big organizations like enterprises. We have 87,000 people at Audi, 440,000 people at VW Group. So it just makes real sense to not invest too much energy into that, rather than asking why you would even fight the silo. What's the business value you want to take out of this? And you can define that quite easily if you ask a couple of times why you're doing that anyway. Why is DevOps a thing? Why is DevSecOps a thing? This end-to-end responsibility obviously makes sense in a wider sense, and you can create that through the silos. For example, transformation usually happens that people define a process, they get the tech for it, they decide upon the tools, and then they tell the people what to do, or they define roles that fill out this organizational structure, and then they hire for the roles. And that is so not people-centric, and what happens then is that the people satisfy the process rather than solve the problem. Because they don't even know what the problem was in the first place. They're so far away from what the people who made the process
had intended, or whatever.
And so and they want to get shit done. Actually, they are really like maybe passionate about their field of work in there. So what we do is we look at the people first, and I ask my team always, what are you passionate about? We have this stuff on the plate. Pick one. Be good at it. So I know if you're passionate about it, you will be just nailing it. You will be really good at it. If you have the motivation to deep dive into that. So we put people first, and then let them choose the best tech to solve the problem. Usually bleeding edge is the thing in our competence center. And then automate it. Because we're not too many people, right? We need to automate stuff to make it work and scalable. But what happened if you automated the tech through passionate people is you receive a process. It's a natural process that evolved through the automation of what you did before. And then you can processualize the process and make it a thing in your organization, like a rule, so to say, a rule to follow. But you haven't created it by thinking about how it could work. You have created it by actually solving a problem. In that moment. You're
kind of, I mean, it's kind of the bottom up versus top down kind of thing.
You could say so. You could say so. You solve the problem first, and then you scale the solution.
That's actually
not the other way around.
You know, at a much smaller scale, you know, it's kind of what we're doing, like even within our this Spark program that we do all these software projects for third parties, is we want all the teams to use GitHub. Okay, so the first thing we do is we start establishing repos for the students and when they're doing the student teams or whatever. And then the next thing we do is, okay, now let's build a little tool that we can now modify the contributors file and it will put the right people on it, right? And so the process kind of, creates itself while we automate it, which I very much agree with. Yeah.
It's adaption. Adaption is the magic thing here.
Yeah.
So it's what happens often is that people decide upon a tool, and it has zero adaption because nobody's motivated to use it. But if you let the passionate people, like this 10 to 20% in every company, that really are super passionate and hardworking about solving the issues, if you let them work with everybody else on the right tools to solve the problem, you will have adaption while choosing it even.
Right.
So even the POC becomes very quickly
adopted.
Adopted, yeah.
Right. So just kind of to delve into the silo comment, I'm not sure. So when you say silo, though, what do you mean by that? Like what is in one of the silos, or what causes those silos to appear that you think are the good type of silo? Or,
for example, my team is definitely a silo as well, because we are just responsible for our infrastructure. There is no end-to-end responsibility towards the developer and his problems. So the developer sometimes even is an external company, and then you have internally a service owner, service responsible guy, product owner, platform owner, whatever. Yeah. So you have a limited number of people that own the thing, and a completely different department or even company that creates the thing. And we have users as well, so let's not forget about the users. So there's a user department, then there's a development department, then there's a service owner or business partner, manager, or whatever that might be.
Yeah, something like a product
the
manager.
process guy, yeah. And there's the infrastructure, there's the people that run stuff, infrastructure, or that run applications. And these are completely different responsibilities, and you can cut responsibilities through creating a set of contracts, like terms and conditions, service level agreements and stuff. That is necessary from a legal point of view. We also do that. We have a clear responsibility border where we say this is nothing we're
this is our
legally responsible for.
Okay.
But what we do is we have a culture beyond terms and conditions and SLA. So we go to the other end, to the very other end of a non-existing end-to-end responsibility. We talk to the developers, we bypass sometimes the process guy because he trusts us. He's like, why would I cause even friction between you guys? Yeah. Just, I trust you, make the best out of it. Right. And why should I cause friction here? By listening to the other guy, understanding something wrong and giving it completely wrong to the next guy.
You've just described why the entire role of developer advocacy exists.
Exactly. And if you have these friction walls that between user and developer, between the orchestrator, which is the process guy, the product owner, and the infrastructure department, you have a couple of friction walls that you can automate through. Just automate through it. I mean, requirement engineering between users and product owner, that makes sense. That's a different path. But from developer to process owner or finance guy and infrastructure, that's two very, very strong friction walls in a unilateral way. Often, and then it arrives at infrastructure and we have to send it all the way back and say, no, we can't accept this because of this. You didn't meet the requirements of running something in a Kubernetes cluster. Your container has root. This is not allowed in our infrastructure and stuff like this, you know? And if we just enable the people, the development teams in the first place, if we just really take their hand and show them everything they need to know to work with our platform, with Kubernetes itself, with cloud native, with a vertical of cloud provider native services, like here's your AWS account, for example, or here's your Azure account. You can connect that, your own account and that service, like an RDS, with your container. I don't need to provide that. I won't, as a platform team, I won't provide it better than Amazon does it itself.
Right.
Why should I resell that service like internally? So just get it directly from there, connect your database. Well, yeah, that's a red light.
Yeah, this guy didn't agree with me. That's why I was kind of like, hello.
So having these verticals of cloud native services that you can connect to your container, and having the infrastructure really just focusing on something that everybody needs. The common denominator in infrastructure, security, and runtime, that's it, period. Everything else kind of qualifies as special needs that not everybody has, like the 100%.
Right.
You have many 80-20 use cases there, but it's not the 100%. 100% is security and runtime. And that said, you have a set of projects that if you enable them enough in using the cloud native technologies, they can help themselves, first of all, which reduces support tremendously, like day 2 support.
Yeah.
And they don't write 10 tickets each day because they have a question. They know how to run the stuff in the field. So the first enablement, or the enablement in general, to be on the platform, the educational layer, is our utmost focus when onboarding people. They need to learn using these technologies very well to work with us, to be on our platform, and then we help them automate that stuff.
Right.
Once it's automated, they just automate through the silos.
Right.
You get all the DevSecOps benefits.
Yep.
All the business value out of it. And you respect the silos.
Interesting. So, but you or your team, right? Goes kind of out and directly works with the kind of individual development team for like their first project. Kind of, is that
exactly?
Yeah.
And their second project, they're already semi-professional on it.
So the support's way less.
Sometimes just an hour and they're done. They deploy to pre-live, and in the same week they deploy to prod. And
so the applications though that you're talking about, are they mostly the net new ones, or are they migrations or like rebuilds or rewrites, or is it because you said you don't do a lot of lift and shift?
Lift and shift where it makes sense. We can talk about it, but it's not possible without a rewrite. So just lifting and shifting is a myth, actually. It's a very small kind of set of projects. I think that lift and shift is probably a good idea if you're going to cloud native, because you really should. It's really if you're the only way you can really take advantage of that new architectural environment is by re-architecting it. And it's not just like you're not just kind of rewriting code. You're actually improving the capability of the system, which that's often not something that is necessarily obvious with the kind of lift and shift scenario. Asking why would you lift and shift something if you're not improving it?
Right.
If you don't need auto-scaling, for example, or
right. Well, the one kind of scenario where it's kind of like I like the lift and shift model, which is really like we're just taking this old golden image VM and now we're managing it in Kubernetes through like KubeVirt or whatever, and it's like that kind of level of lift and shift I think makes a lot of sense, because you can kind of get to that single pane of glass stuff, and all that jazz, but you're not actually changing much about the application itself, right? And then you wait for the next like logical round for when you would do the re-architecture or whatever, if you ever need to, or maybe you just end of life that particular piece of software. Who knows?
That might happen as well. But to answer the question like precisely, it's new stuff. It's like always new I would even say 100%. I haven't seen any lift and shift scenario. There's one. Okay, let's say 95%.
Right. Well, but I think that also gives you an advantage in your how you're working with those teams, right? Because those teams are expecting to be building new and therefore learning new, and they're probably really excited about building new, and so I think that also helps your kind of adoption connection too, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. When it comes to the different business domains of an enterprise, like an OEM, you have shop floor systems, obviously. You have a lot of legacy systems. There's modernization going on in all the places. So it's not only about software, creating digital services. Sometimes it's also about migrating an entire factory to a new system and managing IoT devices. So the use cases are very, very diverse. And in this kind of field, we're more in a consulting role. We don't do these kind of platforms ourselves. We don't manage them ourselves. We focus really on the multi-cloud, public cloud multi-tenancy use case with our own platform. But as a competence center, we consult other platforms in their emerging state or in their planning phase. We are supporting enterprise architecture management. We're supporting portfolio management, like everything an enterprise needs in terms of know-how about infrastructure and Kubernetes and cloud native technologies.
Yeah. I was going to kind of ask you, I wanted to do a quick shout out for the car though. Like, I am so impressed with the sight lines on this car because, you know, it's like when I'm trying to take there's one of these turns that I take where there's basically a bike lane right next to me. And like, I can actually see in the mirror clearly where their bikes are. And I just... The
design is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really nice. So sorry, but I was going to ask you, so do you, you know, what is the magic for how do you know when they belong in which of those environments? Is it a lot of talking? Is there a FAQ you have somewhere that tells you the answer? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people who would like that answer.
We've been trying to like make a matrix out of where you can go through and see where you might belong to. But we found out this is not very good because people then tell other people they know what they want, and we can't ask them the free whys.
Oh, okay.
Because often people really tell you very precisely what they want.
Right.
But they're completely on the wrong path
by
their order. So you're like ordering peanut butter and they're allergic to it.
Right.
Yeah. So and that happens actually quite often because they're not very deep into these technologies. So what we're doing here is we talk to each and every project and or platform initiative on their business goals. We really consult them in product management in the first place. That's what I do. I pre-qualify them in their requirements before they even talk to engineers. Okay. Yeah, this is super important actually because we need to find out why they're doing stuff in the first place. And then what happens most of the time, and I'm really honest here, is that I tell you, we already got that. Talk to him. Yeah. Many initiatives exist because the company is so big and we didn't know we already have it. Right. Yep. And there needs to be that couple of guys that just know the people and just pinpoint you to it. Yep. Yeah. I totally hear that. It's the client that already, or the person who already knows the requirements and knows exactly the answer and then is completely on the wrong path. Like I've mentioned many times before, I spent a long time in consulting. Yeah. And getting the customer or whoever to stop giving you the solution and instead tell you the problem. Yeah, is, exactly. A huge part of the conversation and often very difficult. That's a nice turnaround to the transformation people first, isn't it? Yeah. It's interesting. All right, well, thank you so much, Sebastian, and for the car, obviously. Thank you for having me. We really, we really appreciate it, and I think it's been a lot of fun. So, do you like your nice little tour of Amsterdam? Nowhere near as exciting as when you drove over here. But. From a driving experience, it's just nice being in the car with the massage seats. I switched it on. Did you see it? Yeah, I saw you. You saw that. The people, I haven't even attempted to figure out the console. I was like focusing, no, don't do this. Don't fall asleep. Don't do this. Exactly. All right, well, totally. Thanks again. Really appreciate it. And thank you so much. Yeah.